and also work to improve athlete safety by sponsoring important concussion management legislation. As a former high school and collegiate athlete himself, Senator Nozzolio understands that life lessons learned on the playing field, hard work, dedication, and teamwork are values that athletes carry with them throughout their entire lives. Let's give a round of applause to Mr. Senator Mike Nozzolio.
Thank you very much, Mark. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My role is to welcome all of you from far away who've come home to be part of this great night, a great night for the city of Geneva, a great night for reminiscing, for congratulating those great sports, and for reminiscing maybe about things that might have been. I'm here for a lot of reasons too. One of them is a good friend of mine, and I don't want to single out, I guess I am singling out, but because all of you who are inducted deserve great praise, deserve congratulations, and you have that certainly. But I want to tell you that, as Mark mentioned, one of the inductees tonight has helped me as a legislator push some very important legislation for our youth, and that's to protect our youth, particularly in those high-contact sports, to prevent concussion and brain injury. And let's just give a round of applause for Ray Ciancaglini for his efforts for helping.
No, I really didn't appreciate Mr. Vernier's remarks about me dyeing my hair. Jealousy has a way of manifesting itself. It's the tree heavy laden with fruit at which men throw stones. And women sometimes throw. You know, but saying that I don't dye my hair, my next comment is going to make you think I do dye my hair. One of my favorite shows when I was a little kid was a show called Happy Days. And I loved this cat on Happy Days called the Fonz. He was the coolest guy. Got all the girls, drove the fancy motorcycle. Well, when I was a little boy living on Nagel Place, there was this cool cat that would come by. And he would drive this green Corvette. And you could hear it coming from miles away. And he had the prettiest girlfriend. And he had the biggest muscles. He was a boxer. And the thing that I remember about Ray Ciancaglini was even when we were little kids, he would always stop, talk to us, give us a noogie, make us feel good, make us feel. Ray, if you give me a noogie tonight, I got bigger now, Ray. You want to see somebody who's great, you see how they treat children when they're young men. And it's no surprise to me that Ray Ciancaglini's doing what he's doing for the youth of America and around the world, because he's a great man now, and he was always great. Although Ray first made his mark in boxing ring, his lasting legacy will be contributions he made outside. Today, however, Ray suffers from the effects of multiple concussions, which he suffered during his boxing career. Although he has never been knocked out or knocked down during his career, the irreversible damage was sustained because of concussions that did not properly heal before he resumed training and the subsequent fight. He never took the time to rest and let the symptoms heal. Today he is known as second impact syndrome. Today Ray is doing everything he can in his power to make sure that athletes do not end up like him. He formed the Second Impact, an organization aimed at teaching student athletes, coaches, parents, and trainers about the repercussions of not addressing concussions properly. Ray worked with the New York State Senator Mike Nozzolio to get a law passed, the Concussion Management Awareness Act, which prohibits any student who may have suffered a concussion from participating in athletic activities until they have gone 24 hours without showing symptoms and have been authorized to return by a licensed physician. Other states are modeling the law to fit their head injury legislation. Ray brings his important message around the state, speaking for free for junior programs, high schools, colleges, and has been interviewed on both radio and television. Most notably, RBN National Radio, YNN, CBS, ABC News recently featured a national story about Ray that was discussed on Good Morning America. The stories that ran in the Finger Lakes Times, looking for gain from a lifetime of pain, and every fight was a war, won top honors in the sports department. The 2011 New York Associated Press Award and the 2011 New York Publishers Association Award. Ray received many rewards, including Golden Gloves Heart Award in 1970, the Rochester Boxing Hall of Fame Jerry Flynn Courage Award in 2011, the Geneva City Council Recognition Award in 2011, and the Rochester Community Hero Award in 2012. In 2011, New York State legislation passed a resolution recognizing Ray for his efforts in the passage of the Concussion Management Awareness Act. He also received the State New York Executive Chamber Award for his efforts. Ray's latest reward, however, is knowing that he is making a difference in the lives of our young athletes and those all around the state and this fine country. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce my good friend Ray Ciancaglini and his introductor, Mr. Dave Herbst.
Thank you very much, Coach Pitifer. I really got to have you down at McDonough Park and give a pregame speech to my team. You're outstanding. It is great to be here. And Isaac, fantastic speech. I wasn't born here in Geneva, but I've run a ball club here for the past 10 years, and I absolutely love it out here. And I think Isaac really hit the nail on the head when he said just what a great place this is. And I'm so honored to be here. It's a real treat to honor my dear friend Ray. I got to know Ray as our strength and conditioning coach with the Red Wings, and I saw the effects back then in 2003. So I made it a point of mine to contact Ray on a regular basis. I'd call him in the morning, he'd call me back. We just started making phone calls on a regular basis just to kind of check on him. And Ray's okay if I just share with you? So we would talk, and to bring you up to date, he mentioned some names quite often. Mike Rowland, Mike Simon, Bruce Johnson, Dwayne Reeder. He mentioned those names that are really instrumental in helping get the 501c3, which is the non-for-profit status, which allows this great man to take his lesson and his life lessons across the country now. And as Coach Pitt mentioned, he has been on ABC and all these media outlets throughout this great country of ours. But Ray also wanted me to say that all of his friends, his dear friends, the ones I just mentioned, and of course our Executive General Manager John Iverson, fellow baseball inductee, Hall of Famer John Grieco, amongst others here in the area. He just always mentioned their names to me on the phone at all hours of the night. But I want to bring you back to the point we're here. We all recognize the great things he's done. But I want you to understand, if you could for a moment, think how he got from point A to point B. Ray, as a boxer, was always on the road. All of his fights were on the road. Now, when I take my ball club on the road, we know we're in for a battle, because we're the visiting team. I load 25 guys in the bus, and we head out, and we do battle. Ray was just himself. And the toughest thing in sports is taking those 3 steps, and I saw Coach Ralph Frado earlier, he knows, taking those 3 steps up into the square 20 by 20 ring. That is the toughest thing to do in athletics. And he did this with pride and with heart and on the road, and obtained 31 victories as a road fighter. And that is a tremendous, tremendous accomplishment to be done. But throughout that career, the effects of pugilistic dementia started taking place. And that's where we are today. I've seen the debilitating effects. And I know he was in seclusion for a while. And I know he was in a great deal of depression for a while. And he credits the support of his great friends, his beautiful family, his loving daughter, Anessa, his wife, Patty. And Patty, I know you've got stories to tell. And you and I have talked at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m. Patty is the reason that Ray is standing here before you to send that message throughout this country, through all the media outlets. So Patty, on behalf of the Hall of Fame and everybody here that has been so close to this gentleman, I thank you for being in his corner. Yes, as a baseball man and also a member of the Rochester Boxing, I have a message from our president, Tony Liscioni, who passes on the best wishes to Ray. I also got a message from Karen Basilio, two-time world champion, and his wife, Josie. Unfortunately, could not make it this evening. Josie has not been feeling well lately, so please keep both of the Bazilios in your prayers if you would. But as I move forward here, and I've witnessed the debilitating effects of this man standing before you and how he rallies up for each occasion. And he always told me the robe he wore into every fight said Geneva on the back, yet he never ever had a chance to fight in Geneva. Well, today, Ray's opponent doesn't have a face. Ray's opponent does not have a left jab or a right cross, like some of the national champs he fought, like Rocky Cudney, Johnny Hart, Wonder Lee Scott, all U.S. champions, Steve Armstrong, Canadian champion, and for your boxing aficionados, you all know those names, and Ralph Frado, I know you know who they are. His opponent now is dementia. His opponent now is pugilistic dementia. It is a tough, tough opponent. This is a tough, tough man. So ladies and gentlemen, if I may, he's in his hometown now. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner by unanimous decision over pugilistic dementia, Ray Ciancaglini.
Got a good trust here. It's a pretty tough act to follow here. Thank you, David. Get a hold of myself. My sincere thank you to President Mike Simon, the Board of Directors, and the voting committee for my induction into Geneva Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you to all my friends and family who came here to support me tonight. It means to me more than I can express in words. And I'm so happy that my mother could attend tonight. She's 88 years old. And God knows I put a lot of gray hair on her head. Thank you, man. The honor of having my name placed alongside Geneva's greatest athletes is one I will always hold in the highest regard. I find it very humbling to be in the boxing category with Rocky Frado. Rocky is the most accomplished boxer to ever come out of the Finger Lakes area. And he's a class act and a true champion and a very good friend. And his father, Ralph Sr., has a special place in my heart. He got me a start in boxing, and he's done a lot of good things for a lot of fighters, and I have a lot of respect for him. My desire to become a boxer began all the way back in the year 1957. I was 6 years old, hanging out at my grandparents' Italian restaurant on Exchange Street here in Geneva. every Friday night, the bar room would be packed with patrons and to watch the Gillette Friday night fights on the large black and white television above the bar. My father, who was bartending, would try to get a better picture on the screen by adjusting the rabbit ears on the TV. The guys would get anxious and start yelling, "Angelo, hurry up. Carmen Basilio's fighting tonight." Well, finally Dad got the picture adjusted and I watched as the crowd in the bar room roared with every punch Carmen threw. The only time it got quiet was when the Gillette Razor, Schultz and Dooley beer commercials came on between rounds. The night made such an impression on me. After the fight, I ran in the back room. I filled up a laundry bag with linens, and I started using it as a punching bag. My grandmother came in and asked me what I was doing. And I said, "Grandma, I'm Carmen Basilio." And she said, "There's only one Carmen Basilio. Never mind that boxing stuff. You better go to college and now get back in the bar room and help your grandfather." Well, that's where the inspiration started. And my admiration for Carmen Basilio has stayed with me all these years. In my eyes, he's the greatest fighter, pound for pound, that ever lived. And I will always cherish Carmen and his wonderful wife, Josie's friendship. I met a lot of prominent people in my travels as a boxer, but one that influenced my life the most was renowned boxing promoter Monsignor Kelleher, Franklin Kelleher of Buffalo. He became a very close friend and mentor, and I confided in him often. When I trained in Buffalo, I would reside at the Buffalo Boys Town, a complex the Monsignor founded to house and rehabilitate troubled boys. The proceeds from his boxing promotions were used to offset the expenses of the Boys Town. Some of my fondest memories were of helping him with the youth programs he offered at the facility, and on his trips to visit the sick children at the local Buffalo hospitals, especially around Christmas and Easter. It was from the Monsignor that I learned what giving back was all about. Throughout my career, I never had the privilege of a hometown fight. In fact, the closest bout I got in proximity of Geneva was the Syracuse War Memorial. But every fight I fought, whether it was at Memorial out in Buffalo or the Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, I was always so proud to wear my robe, which had Geneva embroidered above my name. I never ducked any fighter, and I always prided myself with facing top-rated competition. Every fight was a war. The only regret I have is that I didn't defeat my toughest opponent. That opponent was a concussion. I challenged it, and I got beat. For many years, I've been battling dementia pugilistica and Parkinson's syndrome. These progressive disorders are the direct result of my not addressing the concussion properly as a young boxer. You know, my determination and resiliency fooled me into thinking I was invincible, and that eventually led to my demise in the ring. And ironically, that same determination and resiliency is what drives me today. You know, when dementia rears its ugly head, I battle back, because that's what I do. And, you know, I've never been knocked down in my entire career. And I'll tell you what, I refuse to allow dementia to be the first one to do that. this is a little repetitive, and I didn't know what all the gentlemen were going to say on my behalf. But now I've made it my mission to educate student athletes about the importance of never, ever hiding a concussion, about being honest about their symptoms, and addressing a concussion properly. I will be forever grateful to Senator Mike Nozzolio for working with me to establish and get passed into law the Concussion Management Awareness Act. Many other states now are also implementing this same legislation to properly address head injuries. Because of this law, we will never have to worry about an athlete being mistakenly put into harm's way. Now, my hope is that through my mistakes, no other athlete will suffer the same fate as me. In closing, I would like to share with you a quote from Monsignor Kelleher that will always be embedded in my heart. I was a young up-and-coming boxer with an infallible attitude. So at the time, his quote didn't mean anything to me. But through the test of time, it all came to fruition, which would so deeply define who I am. And the Monsignor said to me, "Ray, if you have never experienced humility, stick around the ring long enough in the fight game, and humility will find you." Well, as it played out, I did stick around long enough. And yes, humility did find me. Thank you.
Our next inductee, Mr. Leonard DeFrancisco. Lenny DeFrancisco taught